All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Adaptability is the New Change, the podcast where we explore the mindset, the habits, the tools, and the human stories behind adaptability, change, and transformation. I'm your host, George Carroll, author of Adaptability is the New Change. And in this show, we get straight to it. Real conversations with remarkable people who've navigated change and come out stronger, wiser, and more resilient. So today's guest is Troy Olds. He is the co-founder of Ascend Wellness and Ascend Brain Center. And I got to know Troy through working with Tony Robbins on the Business Mastery team. And Troy, one thing I remember immediately when we finally all got together in person in Florida, it was like instant connection, instant rapport, because a bunch of people who had done so much work on themselves. When you come together, it's like there are no barriers, right? There are no defenses up, and it's just instant connection. And I'll always remember that experience with or in Florida with you guys. And I always remember I was, chatting with you a little bit. I just was instantly connected to your level of depth and wisdom. And so I'm excited to get some of that depth and wisdom and share it with our audience here.
I'll do my best, George. I'll do my best. Thank you. It's truly an honor to be here with you.
Okay.
Thank you for the invitation and ready to dive in, brother.
Heck yeah. So we have 20 questions in 30 minutes, but first give us the 1-minute background story of how you got here and why you co-founded Ascend Wellness Center.
Yeah, you got it. The short story is during the dot-com boom, late 99, I was trying to be a baller in the dot-com arena, and I broke my brain and my nervous system from the supplementation I was utilizing to, stay up, create long days, stay up late, earn that money. And I did. I earned a lot of money very quickly, and then it was gone. And so was my mind and my nervous system. So really the journey began in 2003 when I walked out of a recovery center and literally couldn't read, couldn't retain, anxiety through the roof, debilitating depression. And so what I did is I went on a journey to find the best doctors, the best therapists, the best nutrition and modalities so I could reclaim my brain. Right? Reclaim my brain and my nervous system. And somewhere along the line, I realized that not just people with addictions and isms could utilize this knowledge, that everybody has something. And so we opened, Ascend Brain Center specifically to help individuals to get a clear mind, peaceful heart, and really show up the way they're supposed, the way they choose to show up on the planet.
Powerful. Yeah, I'm excited to dive into that more because I know you've got this biocharger machine that is just cutting edge, and I want to get into that a little bit more too. But let's dive in. All right, first question, Troy, is how do you define adaptability?
How do I define adaptability? Is embrace it by embracing it. Make fun friends with change because it's constant, right?
Mm-hmm. And that's an important piece too, right? Because sometimes, for me personally, watching my parents struggle with change growing up, I developed a belief that said change is a struggle, and my relationship with change wasn't friendly for a lot of years. Right. So that's an important piece.
Huge. Yeah. If everybody would just do as I say and things would stay put the way I put them, it would be perfect. But it just doesn't seem to work out that way, George.
It doesn't.
At all.
It doesn't. It does. Second question is finish this sentence. Change is,
and that is a complete sentence. Change is. That's all there is. It's constant.
That's facts right there, my friend. Those are facts. All right. If change were a dance move, what would it look like?
Change were a dance move. Well, it used to look much like the robot for me. Sometimes it may start out that way. But now it's definitely, some of that flow, right? We've got to flow with it, yield and flow with what's coming.
And I like it. I like it. So as we go deeper into the questions, they'll get deeper. So initially we're just kind of scratching the surface, and then we'll dive deeper because I know you've got a lot of great tools, a lot of great wisdom to share. Next fun question is, what's a song that instantly boosts your state and your adaptability?
Yeah, music is the big one, right? That audible guy. So the song that I love to lead out when I'm going to go speak and definitely gets me into peak state is Let Your Love Flow. I don't know if y'all know the Bellamy Brothers, right? Let your love flow. It's amazing.
Love it. Love it. What's your go-to tool when you're moving through change?
Breath work, my breath, breathing. I know everybody's, breathing these days. Thank God. And I think it's absolutely wonderful. It's breathing,
That's
that,
so powerful. So let's spend a little time here. So dive into that a little bit more, and maybe offer some breathing tools that you would recommend.
absolutely. I'd love to. Well, just before this conversation that we're having, I sat in front of the biocharger. I put it on brain activation. We can talk more about that technology. And I did what most would consider or are aware of as Wim Hof breathing techniques, just and then some breath of fire. We can talk about that. And then inhales, exhales, breath holds. And what that does, it just really gets my brain centered, gets me very grounded, and purges out any, like things. If I'm just thinking about myself, right? Concerned about how it's going to go, I just try to wash that away so that it can just be what it's supposed to be.
Right. Right. And I love this too. And I'd love for you to touch on the gas and the brake, which I've heard you talk about before. It's what this piece is so important because stress is kryptonite to adaptability. And so if we're not able to operate from a calm, centered, grounded nervous system, adaptability is almost impossible to grasp onto. So tell us a little bit more there.
To that point, thank you for sharing that. I'm 23 years into the recovery process, and I have hundreds of hours of therapist chairs, thousands of hours in 12-step meetings, and I've got a lot of amazing tools. And anxiety still shows up. Brain fog will show up. Fight or flight will show up because, again, they don't go away. And I think that's a big important point for people listening to understand is trauma and those buttons are still there. We just know how to push the button and get an outcome that we choose versus a button getting pushed by something happening in our daily life that causes a historic reaction, right? If it's hysterical, it's generally, not always, but generally historical. And so, as you said, there's a lot of things that are on the subconscious, just under the water level, that are bleeding off energy and creating a constant state of fight or flight. If we're in fight or flight, this part of the brain, that future thinking creative space, is offline. Therefore, it's always going to be reactive. So some of the earliest, I used to set a timer on my phone to just stop and breathe. So a lot of people deal with low energy in the afternoon. So the gas is so it's called a lot of different names, but that will work. Another one that will work is if you just breathe as if you're breathing through a straw. And I like to go full dork on these, right? So if it's okay. That is the gas, the brake. If we're feeling super anxious, a little bit out of control, need to ground, it's always a so in through the nose, long double exhale or length exhale, generally. And if you want bonus points,
sigh.
And then just relax the shoulders. And I literally, if I had a camera on me 24/7, you'd see me doing that, 5 to 10 times a day, just feeling the energy up a little bit high, just bring it down. Or if I'm a little bit sleepy, bring it up through some of that reverse breathing, right? Which is longer inhale, shorter exhales.
I love it. And this is more than just, hey, let me get a little energy here or let me get a little grounded here. It's about longevity, because if we're living in a state of fight or flight consistently, it literally will shorten our lifespan. So really important tools here. I love them. Hopefully you're writing them down if you're watching. Next question is, what's a small habit that helps you stay flexible?
Stay what?
Flexible.
Stay flexible. This changes a little bit, but what I found is meditation and fasting. Fasting helps me stay flexible in that I become in charge of it, basically, right? If I can notice hunger and I just push through that. It's more of a discipline thing, not necessarily a flexibility thing, but it's just I want to know that I'm in control of what I can control.
Mm.
And a great mentor of mine said, touch your nose. And I was like, touch my nose. He says, everything from your finger backward is your responsibility. Anything from your nose forward, NOMB, none of your business, right? None of my business. And that's a big game changing realization. It's like, wait, I'm not supposed to move the pieces on the chessboard for everybody? Nope. So yeah, fasting and meditation.
Gotcha. Powerful. Yeah, meditation's so powerful because again, it just shuts off those stress circuits, and we become more malleable. We become more adaptable, more flexible. Meditation's such a great reminder. I mean, works great when you use it. Doesn't work when you don't.
100%. Set a timer.
Yeah,
Make discipline for a month. Just get up and go.
that's a great idea. What's one belief you've had to unlearn?
That life is easy.
Say more on that.
Well, the naivete of youth, I think it's there by design. We're hardwired. It's all possible, right? And it, I don't know if it was the way I was necessarily raised. I have great parents, or society, that it's supposed to feel good, be fun, and then it's okay. And what I found is like a lot of my life on a daily basis wasn't fun and certainly didn't feel good. So it wasn't okay. Therefore, what am I doing wrong? And I really collapsed in on myself and started pointing fingers. What's wrong with me? Cancel. And so when a book that I read years ago in one of the therapist chairs was The Road Less Traveled by M. Scott Peck. And the opening line is, life is difficult. And that is one of the Buddhist Four Noble Truths also. Life is pain, right? But when we learn to embrace it, then we are aware of it. We know it's part of life, just like the sun rising and setting, and it ceases to be painful. And we certainly cease to suffer. And so I like what Marcus Aurelius says in Meditations. I don't know, remember which one, but he says, when you wake up, remember, people are, and I'm paraphrasing, squirrely. They're selfish. They're self-centered, right? And that's not them out there, George. I was taught very clearly, that's this guy. I've just been given tools so I can stop being so selfish, stop being so self-centered, stop being driven by fear, and actually focus myself and my energy into what my purpose, what I want.
That's powerful. I'm just thinking back to my youth as well. And it's like, life was pretty dang easy. I mean, even through college, because I was in this sort of safety bubble, right? But get out into the workforce and life gave me a good 1-2 punch. And I was like, oh, damn, it's a different game out here.
It is.
So that's an important lesson. How has your definition of success evolved over time?
My definition of success. It's a great question. Early on, bought in, hook, line, and sinker into society standard, which is when I have the house, when I have the car, when I've got the money, then I'll be okay. Now that's my personal story. I wasn't okay inside my skin. And so these accomplishments or labels or who I associated with, I used to name drop like I lived in freaking Beverly Hills, right? And it was just ridiculous because I didn't generate my own self-worth and self-esteem. So that was an outside job. Success today is an inside job. And it's not about my stuff. I've had stuff and lost everything. The greatest lessons were in the losing everything. And today, rather than getting wrapped around the axle about what I drive, where I live, to be a beautiful steward of what I've been given, because we're taking none of this with us, right? And we all have our unique, gifted fingerprint that came in here into this world. And as long as we are, and was it Jim Rohn who said the progressive realization of a worthy ideal, or was that Earl Nightingale? I think it was Earl Nightingale. So link those together. If you want to be an amazing farmer, be an amazing farmer. You're incredibly successful because it's yours. I'm more the most successful I've ever been today, because I've made decisions that society is linked. Well, that's safe, that's secure, that's the guaranteed route.
Mm.
And I said no. And I said yes to what I'm called to do.
Mm.
And I've got a car, I got a house,
Right.
and I
Yeah.
love waking up every day and the challenges that it brings with me, and the navigating through those, that Tetris or that Rubik's Cube of a challenge to get enlightenment. That also is a muscle that I've learned to build over time.
This is powerful. And I think it's so easy, especially in today's day and age with social media, to compare our lives to others and say, okay, they got this, well, I need to go get that. And it's just an endless trap. And so I'm happy that you're bringing this up, because I think a lot of people fall into it unknowingly and unconsciously until, one day life thwaps them across the head and say, okay, time to make a shift here.
That's what a loving thing is, when life just goes, I love you so much, knock it off.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Life is the greatest teacher. Beautiful. Okay. In one word, what's the secret to thriving through change?
Presence. Being present in the moment, who we're with. I've got a coach, Rich, amazing guy. He's like, listen, when you're at a family dinner and a gathering where the kids that normally aren't around are around, he said, take a big deep breath and look around and look at each one. He says, literally blink, like, and bring it in, and blink and bring it in, and just notice what, like, the joy and the beauty around you, the beauty of the moment, not thinking of the future, not hallucinating about, or regretting the past, but fully present. And that's a high bar. As I started this stuff, it was like I was chronically freaked out about what's going to happen in the future and ashamed of what was going on in the past. And so therefore I just missed a lot of my life. So presence.
That's so beautiful, man. That is so beautiful. And for me, I'm just thinking through, those are where, like, the sweetest, richest moments in life are, is you're surrounded by people you love, or you're doing something that you love, or doing work that you love. You just take a moment, just breathe it, soak it in. So powerful, such a powerful reminder. What's, we know, through life and working with Tony, that questions shape our attention and focus. And so I'm curious for you, what's your favorite question to go to during times of change and uncertainty?
It's a really great question. And it is now, what is life or the situation calling me to be? Who am I supposed to be? I don't like the word supposed. What version of myself is required of me to navigate this current experience with grace and ease, so I don't harm myself or others, right? And that looks like a lot of things, just eating a bunch of fast food is kind of a harmful thing in my world.
Yeah.
So that's
what's the question?
The question is, what is your go-to when in times of change, right?
What's the question you go to in times of change?
The question I go to? Yeah. Okay. The question, who am I being called to be to navigate this experience with grace and ease?
Write that down, folks. That's a gem right there.
Yeah.
What would you say is maybe the weirdest or maybe not so common routine that keeps you grounded?
It's not so uncommon anymore. Meditation and cold immersion, the stuff that has been around for thousands of years that Wim made very popular. Thank you, Wim. It's helping a lot of folks. Maybe kind of a low bar response, but that is really it. I wanted to be free in the past, George, like freedom, no rules, no boundaries. I'm gonna do what I want. Really love Jim Morrison, and I just bought hook, line, and sinker into his process, and his poetry and the way he lived. And I kind of showed up as that guy for a while, but he died at 27, and there's a lot of just for all the beauty, there was a damaged soul, right? And so Um, Now I love rules, my rules, and even society's rules. And I love boundaries, right? And I've learned to create those. And now I'm a little bit like Rain Man. Like I have rituals that day in, day out, I am going to get up, drink a big glass of water. I'm going to go start a, pot of coffee because I still love coffee. I'm going to go sit down next to the biocharger now. Prior to that, just sit down and breathe and focus and center, right? These things are just like habituated within me because there will be times where that's not going to be a possibility. I'm not going to be able to just get up, hydrate, coffee, breathe, meditate, journal, right? Because it's life. But as soon as I'm strong, I'm stable. And when I navigate through that experience, guess what I do? Immediately back to the kata, right? In martial arts, the kata, just the basics, man.
That's powerful. It reminds me of a story of, I know Tony shares this a lot with John Wooden, famous basketball coach, and he's having his players just shoot basic free throws, basic layups, like hundreds of them. And they're like, come on, let's go. Let's do some more. And he's like, no, fundamentals. And I think that's what our routines are, just the fundamentals to keep us grounded, to keep us centered, to keep us present, as you say. So another very powerful reminder there. All right, let's dig a little deeper here. Where's a moment in life when change cracked you open to the core?
Cracked me open to the core. So what I've got, while respecting everyone's who is involved with this, but my son. So I've got 3 beautiful biological children, 8 in total, blended family. It's amazing. Only 2 teenagers still at home. So I've got a couple more years left with that. But my son, when he was still, I think he was 16 or 17, he almost died. And that was at a time when I was reinventing an old version of myself. If I just push these buttons, if I show up as the showman, right? The barker, it's just this identity that I had for myself that wasn't authentic, I guess is the best way to say it. I was starting to navigate forward and show up again in the world as that. And that my son had an experience that was a near-death experience. And it was like the universe, God, just erased my brain.
What?
Like literally that old playbook just got left out in the rain and just dissolved. Wow. And it was terrifying in some regard, but I was also very clear that that version of myself had to go. And we spent, I stopped working. So I remember how much in the past I identified with net worth as my self-worth. So depleted everything, went in the hole, and all the while doing what was necessary to help my son become well. And in the process, I became well. And that is truly the most terrifying, humbling, scary, like just snotty experience of my life has truly become the most beautiful experience that I've ever been given. And I'm literally just like, thank you for loving me enough to allow me to experience so much pain that I had to ask for help and I had to do things differently.
Man, that's I'm welling up here just thinking about it. I've got 2 young boys still, and like my greatest fear is that something bad happens to them, and so I can only imagine what you went through. What a beautiful testament of how it was, you saw it as an opportunity for you to develop and grow yourself spiritually, emotionally, all of that. Man. Wow. What would you say is the one sort of silver lining that came from that, would you say?
So the first thing is he's doing amazing. He's like living life to the beat of his own drum. He's a wildland firefighter. He lives under the stars. He doesn't have to. He's got what he says, a few racks. I got a few racks, Dad. He's got some finances, and regardless, he still loves to camp, tent. He modified an Econoline van, and he's going to live in the van life, and just storing up his his money, and he's big into investing. He's reading the right books. So that's a blessing. More importantly than those things is the fact that he has a meditation process. He journals constantly. We communicate very often, and he's lovely. So that is the beautiful outcome of that experience.
Yeah.
If he wasn't my son, I would want to be friends with this guy. Like
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
so freaking cool. The other thing is I got to start from a level that I avoided most of my adult life, which was asking for help, going completely broke, having, there was a moment, I'll share this, it may be appropriate. There was a morning in that process where I had enough fuel in this beater old Mercedes to go from my hometown to a town over to attend a recovery group, right? And I knew that I didn't have enough fuel to get back, right? And it's like, it's not my job to figure that out. So I went there, and remember, this is the guy who was going to put on a show and a mask and tell you who I knew and how much money I made in the past and blah, 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 blah. And to sit there and say, hey, listen, this is where I'm at. I don't have enough money to get home. And to have good old John come up and put his arm around me and says, meet me at the gas station. Right. And it's like that. I well up when I think of that, because asking for help, not asking for help almost killed me. The process with my son was possible because I got on the phone. I said, I need help. Can you help me? And just guy to guy, from daisy chain, from good man to good man. And I just told him what was going on, man. That was so new for me, George. To tell you that I'm broke and broken and scared was not part of the plan, man. And so I was given that opportunity, and it was the greatest gift.
So beautiful.
It's amazing to start life, because my coach has a saying, he's like, grow up, right? He doesn't say that necessarily to me, but he certainly would. Step up, grow up, right? And that happened for me most earnestly in my mid-40s. Wild, huh?
Wild, man. I mean, amazing nuggets here. And so it forces me to ask the next question here is what advice? So you're 18 years old, right? And now you're 53. If you were to come face to face, go back in the time with that 18-year-old version of you, what advice would you have for him?
Yeah, I love this question so much. And there's so much to, you could write a book, but we can bring it down into, make it really simple, which is life is difficult. Enjoy the ride. I've heard you ask this, before, and it's like, learn to embrace it all. And what always comes up is you really cannot enjoy the sweet unless you have experienced sour, right? And having a fine blend, and suffering is a choice, so just enjoy the ride, like truly enjoy the ride. This is Earth School is brief at its longest, right? It's a blink in the whole scheme of things. I won't go getting woo woo or woo wow. I just know that I choose to believe that we came here with a purpose, and I forgot for a long time, and pain was that reminder for me, and I resisted it again and again, and the pain would come back magnified until finally it was strong enough that I just let go. I surrendered to the call. As Joseph Campbell says, I heeded the call of the still small voice. And again, why it takes so long? Hey, you know what? Now it's perfect.
Yeah, now is the time, and so for those of you watching, what would be your advice? Think about it. You go back into time, you come face to face with your 18-year-old self. What would be your heartfelt advice for that version of you? It's just something to consider as we move into the last question here, Troy, is what heartfelt advice do you have for somebody who might be going through something right now? They're in the midst of change, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of pain, a lot of struggle, a lot of unknown. What's your heartfelt advice and wisdom for them?
Thanks for the question. It's beautiful. And for those individuals, for you, if you are going through stuff, keep going. Ironic shirt, keep moving forward. there were moments I didn't realize that not everyone had the idea of, punching their card and getting off the ride. Not everyone does, but I certainly did. And when I came the closest to those moments, there was just something inside me that said, just keep going. And I would argue with that voice. Are you kidding me? And, kicking and screaming. I'd say, okay. And I would just do the next thing I was capable of doing at the time, which might be just taking a shower for the day. Just keep going there. And also that there are people who want to help. There are people who have been there. They've navigated the waters that you're in. And thank God the men that have navigated the waters that I was in. And when I finally said, just please help me, surrender and do what they say, have that be honest with yourself that, hey, I need some help. Be open to a new way of living, and then be willing to do the footwork that they lay out for you. And choose wisely. Not everyone deserves to, not everyone's capable of holding your situation, your experience. But there are plenty who are.
Beautiful. Sage advice, my friend.
Well,
Troy, I wanted to
on the other side of the biggest pain, baby.
Biggest gifts are on the other side of the biggest pain. I love it. Well, Troy, I just want to acknowledge you for first, being here with us, sharing your precious time and energy, your personal stories with us, your heartaches with us. I know for me, it certainly touched something in me, and I'm sure for those people watching. So I just want to acknowledge you for being here with us. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. Where can people learn more about you? Where can people find you?
It's an honor, George. Thank you for having me on. Probably the best place to reach me these days is probably ascendbraincenter.com. There you can kind of see what Lori, my wife, and I are about. I'm also on, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn if you choose to go there. But probably the website's probably the best place.
Okay, and I'll be sure to post that in the notes below. So thanks again, Troy, for being here with us. Keep rocking, brother.
I promise. Appreciate you, George. Thank you, bud.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. For those of you watching, thanks for joining us. Hopefully you wrote down some good tips and tools. Troy shared a ton, so make sure you implement them and stay adaptable, my friends. We'll see you on the next.